Hey YouTube, how's it going? So this is gonna be the full in-depth explanation of the Zoomancer, the Zoo Defiler, the Warmancer, all these different names for the same build essentially. This is gonna be for those people who are either new to the game or new to minion builds that just don't really know what they're doing and they need a bit of an extra explanation, extra words to listen to so that they know what they're doing. So I'm going to go over every single POB in this description. I'm going to start off with the lowest budget, then I'm going to switch over to the low budget, and then I'm going to switch over to the true budget. And then that'll be that. There will be a different video for all the gear crafting that is also currently uploaded, and the link to that is in the description. But without further ado, let's begin. So this is the low budget POB, right? I already went over the skill tree, the video itself, but I want to go over the skill config here so that you guys know what's happening. All right, so helmet, that's the helmet, that's the 6-link chest, that's the bitter dream, that is our shield, gem links, these are our boots, the triad grip gloves, everything is labeled perfectly. Right, so we have our anime guardian in our unset ring, and this is our config. Since spectral leader isn't really in the POB just yet, so we use a placeholder, and in this setup I just put in a random Lunaris concubine. It's a random mob in the game, it doesn't do anything, right? We actually I don't know the exact numbers of the spectral leader. It's on POEDB, but I'm not gonna add it in like this. I have the anime guardian curse on hit. This is also in the config. So when you do not have the anime guardian here, you just turn this off. When you do, you turn it back on. It stays level 1 because curse on hit curses are weaker than curses you self-cast. Okay, so let's now go into items. These are all the items. I put the same jewel in to every single socket on the tree just to make things easy. You need if you want damage and resistances, you can replace some of these jewels with attributes, obviously. Flasks in the low budget, as I mentioned, you don't really need any flasks except Rumi's concoction and a divine flask, and a quicksilver or any other flask you want. That's completely up to you. A low effect, Darkness Enthroned, everything else is the same. If you go up here, you can actually check the anime guardian gear setup, right? So for the staff, we have a dying breath. Helmet, we have a leer cast. Body armor, we have belly of the beast. Gloves, you can go for any gloves, like you can go for rare gloves that are corrupted with elemental weakness on hit. You can go for uniques. I like these because these give quite a large chunk of life. However, getting gloves with chaos res on them is even better than this. Just be sure that they have the corrupted implicits for cursed enemies with elemental weakness on hits. You can search this up on trade very easily. That's that. Wind Scream, these boots allow the anime guardian to apply the additional curse, which is the curse on him from the gloves. So if we need additional curse, it says you, that actually applies to us and all of our minions combined. So that means that we can combine total apply 2 curses. We are applying frostbite, anime guardians applying elemental weakness on hits. You get the point. Be sure to switch this back to your regular gear. And in the config, this is where things are also included. So POB doesn't actually calculate what your anime guardian is doing, so we have to actually put in the config ourselves. So 68% increased damage. This is a combination of a leer cast and the dying breath staff. Apply an additional curse, obviously, and 18% increased effect to your curses is also from the dying breath staff. That's all. You don't need any of the other things because anime guardian doesn't really do anything else at this point. Spectral leader buff, as I said, since we don't have the leader in POB, we have to add his buff manually. So minions have 20% increased action speed. You can also add you have 20% increased action speed to give you more movement speed and cast speed. I don't need it. Nearby minions deal 10% less damage. This is also a debuff that we have to apply because minions taunt. We have that ghastly jewel in our system somewhere. Right here, minions have a chance to taunt, so this is how we get our taunt, which is how we get 10% less damage to us. If something hits us while it's taunted by the minion, it deals 10% less damage to us. Great. Enemy is exposed to cold thanks to elemental army support. That's where we're getting our cold exposure. We have our feeding frenzy through our golem. That's mostly it in the low budget POB. So this version right here is going to first start off with the lowest budget, and that is going to be the budget that you'll have as you're completing the acts, all the way up until mid-tier yellow maps, maybe even high-tier yellow maps. So this will be using MoonDancers. Now, MoonDancers are the Trial of the Ancestor Spectres. Let me find one. And these will be your primary source of damage in this setup. As you can see, the lady is right there. We raised one. They fire off these ice mortar projectiles all around them in an AoE. That is because of Greater Volley. If I take that off, they actually fire just 2 projectiles, which obviously isn't enough. So we link them with Greater Volley so that they help with clearing. Their single target is very nice as well because all these mortars actually shotgun. So that's what does that. Now you will be using 2 of these Spectres. All the way through the acts, you will not have access to 3, you will only have 2 Spectres, so you'll be using 2 MoonDancers. The way you get more maximum Spectres is by raising the level of your Spectre gem. So here at level 21, this says a maximum of 2 raised Spectres. Now if we go over to the skill tree real quick, you'll see we take Death Attunement. This gives us an extra 3rd Spectre. Now usually while you're in the campaign, you won't be pathing over to this in the early game. 2 Spectres is more than enough, you don't need a 3rd one. When you enter maps, that is when you will be using your 3rd Spectre, which will be a Spectral Leader, which is going to be, where did you go? This guy. Okay, so as you can see, this guy gives a AoE action speed boost around him. You can see it up here. Spectral Swiftness. This is a 20% increased action speed boost. And you just saw he turned it off. There was like a 1 second downtime almost, maybe even 2 seconds. Then turn it right back on. So your minions and you will almost always have this 20% action speed boost. And you see how much faster the MoonDancers actually get. They throw their ice projectiles faster. They move faster. Everything is faster, right? And if you combine that with your raised zombies, your golem, your animate guardian, the spectral swiftness boost is actually incredibly strong. So this is going to be the setup for the lowest budget. Okay, for the gearing, we scale these MoonDancer Spectres by using a Bitter Dream Scepter. This boosts all of their cold damage significantly. On top of that, we link them with minion damage to give them even more damage, and as I said, Greater Volley so that they fire more projectiles. For our helmet, we will have a very basic minion skill gems helmet with any resistances that you can find on trade. This cost me like 1 C to buy at leak start. So at this point, this will probably cost you maybe like a few alchemy orbs at best. For our shield, ideally you want a +1 minion skill gem shield. However, I just didn't feel like going out to buy one off trade. I had this sitting in my stash from when I was doing my campaign, so I just equipped this. This is more than enough. You don't even need anything better than this, but getting a better one would obviously be better. Right, for our boots, we'll be using a Bones of Luller boots. These are probably the best boots you can get for the cheapest amount. These cost like 2 C, 1 C even, right? And they give you a level of your zombie gem and your race spectre gem. Both of these increase your damage pretty nicely because, big tip, we don't know this already, minion gems scale extremely well with gem levels. The same as it is with spell skills. All the spell skills scale very highly with gem levels. That is why we try to scale our minion gem level as much as we can. So in the end game setup, we have a wand that's giving +2 levels, a shield giving +1, a helmet giving +2, an amulet giving +1. You get the point, right? But for this setup, the cheap one, we just have our boots giving a +1 level, very easy, very cheap. You can even go for a corruption on this, but don't bother, it doesn't matter. For our gloves, this is very, very important. We need a triad grip with 4 green sockets in them. This does not scale your MoonDancers, but it does scale your zombies and your skeletons significantly, and we really need them for single target damage. So how do we make these 4 green sockets? That will be covered in the crafting guide, so be sure to take a look at those. Don't buy these off trade with 4 green sockets. It'll just cost you way too much. Just make them. It's very easy. That's it. For our body armor, we will literally use anything that is a armor energy shield base, so that it's easy to hit the colors we want. Obviously, as you're doing your campaign, you might not have a 6-link, but if you can get a 6-link, make it 4 blues and 2 reds. Very easy to do. Simple. For our rings, we have 2 unset rings. You can go for 1 unset ring if you want. I'm leaving this one empty anyway, right? So one of them will have plus 1 to 3 level of socketed gems. This is where we're going to place our anime guardian. For the purposes of this example showcase, I am not going to be using an anime guardian because my guardian has the high level gear, and there isn't really a way to swap anime guardian gear, so I'm not going to do that. And the other ring will have a bunch of attributes that you're missing. All that is covered in the POB about how to get attributes and everything. Most of them will be coming from jewels, but you can get them from a ring as well. So that's that. Ideally, this slot should be an amethyst ring, so you can have some more chaos stress, but whatever. Right, and the amulet for the low budget, the low budget, you're going to be going for something like this. A maximum number of raised zombies. Amulet is actually incredibly cheap. I bought this for 1C at day 2 of the league. So it's going to be extremely cheap. Don't worry about this at all. You can get a fractured one or a non-fractured one, doesn't matter. Just try to get one that has resistances and any attributes that you're missing. And for the early game budget anoint, you're going to be anointing Testudo, which gives some extra block and some life gain on block, which is pretty nice. That is it for the gear. Flasks. Extremely low level flasks. I have a life flask. This is the only important one, which is corrupted blood immunity and instant recovery. Along with that, we have Rumi's concoction, also very important. This is enchanted with reuse at the end of this flask's effect. If you don't know how to enchant flasks, it's right here. Put your flask in here. You can enchant them. It costs 5 instilling orbs and 5 glass blowers, whatever they're called. And scouring orb is just because I already have the craft on there. Right, you can also just spam instilling orbs to get this, but I don't recommend that. Just craft it in the bench and you should be good. And we have a phasing flask. Now I use one in the early game because monsters don't really die very fast, so we tend to get blocked a bit, and getting blocked inside a pack of mobs is not ideal. So I use this one, which is gain 2 charges when you are hit and use when charges reach full. This is corrupted. It doesn't have to be corrupted, ignore that part. Okay, that is mostly it. I'm quickly also going to go over the skill tree for this. So I'm currently in game level 99, but I have taken off 15 skill points. That makes me effectively level 84 in this skill tree. Now, what are we getting? What's important? What isn't? Let me go over this. So basic pathing up here. Ignore these. These are chaos stress tattoos. I can't really take them off. So just they're there. Okay, ignore them. We go up. We take Lord of the Dead. This gives us more zombies, more skeletons. Good stuff. We go over here. We take life. We take some spell block. We have mana reservation efficiency of skills here. Pretty nice. We go here. We need to take Convocation as increased cooldown recovery. This just makes everything feel more comfortable. However, if you don't want to take this, if you want to go slower, you can take minions have +8 to all elemental resistances. That also helps, up to you. We take Eldritch batteries that we can cast all of our skills in the most comfortable way possible. We take some more aura effect here. We only go into this leech node so that we can take 10% of leech is instant. This is pretty important. This gives us a lot of health sustain and makes the build way tankier. Okay, because of this ascendancy right here, which makes minions leech the damage they deal as life to us. Really important stuff right there. Everything else on the ascendancy is pretty straightforward. Damage, elemental resistances, attack speed, and damage. Offerings affect us, tankiness, basically. Right? Over here, we take Grave Pact so that our minions have a chance to deal double damage. Pretty nice. You can really feel this when you see your minions suddenly just start chunking away when you get lucky with the double damage. That's pretty nice. Jewel Socket. I already went over this in the guide summary. Jewel Sockets are very, very, very important for the build. You get everything you need on your Jewel Sockets. Sanctuary for more block chance. Life, because life is life. This entire minion wheel, because, you know, minion damage, minion damage, minion damage, minion attack speed, minion damage. You get the gist. Right, another Jewel Socket for resistances, more aura reservation and aura effect, more life, and then, as I mentioned, death attunement for your third Spectre, and an extra zombie and an extra skeleton. If I'm going too fast, I'm sorry, I just don't want this video to become 2 hours long like my previous guides, so I'm trying to go over things fast, trying to explain everything that I can. If there's anything that you don't understand, or anything that I miss, please let me know, and I'll answer it for you. Alright, I'm back. So that is basically everything for the skill tree. There's also Enduring Bond. This is pretty important because this gives us even more skill effect duration, and I'll explain why that is as important. There's also the minion damage, which is amazing, right? But skill effect duration is very, very, very important for the entire build. Why? Well, if you notice, there is no trigger craft on our weapons. What is a trigger craft? Well, a trigger craft is what automatically triggers a socketed spell in that weapon. Right, so if I go over and show you my wand, right, here's my wand. So trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill with a 8-second cooldown. Spells triggered this way have more mana cost, that doesn't matter. Alright, so this is what we use to automatically cast Bone Offering, so that we don't have to manually cast this. Bone Offering is extremely important for both our survivability and the survivability of our minions, okay? So remember that. If Bone Offering is down and you go jump into a pack of monsters, you will just die. And your minions will also just die. So Bone Offering needs to be kept up almost all the time. How do we do that without a trigger craft? Well, in the early game, so that we have the damage without spending too much chaos, too much money, we have to skip the trigger craft and manually cast Bone Offering. I know, it's horrible. It's horrible. It is horrible. But hopefully, you play everything correctly, you won't have to do this for much long. You can just breeze through the campaign and the axe and quickly switch over to a wand setup, which will allow you to have the trigger craft. So, why is Bone Offering so miserable to cast? Well, first of all, you need corpses to cast it, right? So if I go over here, where there's no corpses, this is my Bone Offering, it's on queue. If I press this, nothing's happening, right? Because there's no corpse. So you have to desecrate to make corpses, and then Bone Offering to consume the corpses. Now, as you just saw, the cast speed of Bone Offering is pretty damn slow. That is why we want this to trigger automatically. However, you can see it does last a pretty damn long time. So it says on the gem, 8.5 duration is the base duration, and an additional 1 second duration for every extra corpse consumed. So this consumes all nearby corpses. So if you, in a map, if there's like 15 corpses in a big stack, right, and you would Bone Offering there, then you get a very large duration Bone Offering, that you don't have to recast it. But however, at the start of the map begins, you desecrate, you Bone Offering, and then you go, right? And then after that, every time your minions kill something, just remember to press Q, just so your Bone Offering is always up. That's basically it. So besides that, I don't think there's anything else to explain. The auras we use are Precision, Hatred, Tempest Shield, and Determination. Now, you can take off Determination and use Petrified Blood instead. However, in the early game, armor is not only important to you, it is also important for your minions. Right, so that is why I prefer using Determination. It just makes things feel more smooth and your minions don't die as much. Now I'm gonna go and do 3 different map tiers. We're gonna go do a white map, a yellow map, and then a red map to show how the build looks and feels and all the different maps. Quick disclaimer again, my gems, most of them aren't leveled. There's a level 7 Greater Volley here, there's a level 11 Melee Splash, level 9 Elemental Army. So there's some holes in here, but that's fine, right? I'm also not using an Anime Guardian because I already mentioned this. So we're gonna go into a tier 5 map. Let's go into a graveyard. Right, simple alt and go. One quick thing I completely forgot to do is I forgot to summon all the rest of our minions. So we have a Carrion Golem, right? There he is. Look at him. He's a badass. So our Carrion Golem is how we call enemies, how we get our Freezing Frenzy boost, how we get Elemental Army, and everything, right? So a quick explanation. What all of this is, Culling Strike is Culling Strike. It kills anything that reaches 10% HP. Very good for bosses, very good for tanky rares, very good for everything. Right, Feeding Frenzy. Now, Feeding Frenzy is a buff that we get. Right, and then when we get this buff, it says 10% more minion damage, 10% increased minion move speed, and 10% increased minion attack and cast speed. What this means is that when we have this buff, all of our minions do 10% more damage and have the attack speed and movement speed buffs. This also says minions from supported skills are aggressive, which means that our Carrion Golem is going to be very aggressive. What aggressive means is they're going to jump to any enemy that they see and they're not going to come back to you that often. They still will, but not as often. Right, and just to clarify, Feeding Frenzy does not affect Carrion Golem. It affects all of your minions. It gives you a global buff to minions. Right, so it doesn't matter which minion is giving you Feeding Frenzy. Your skeletons, your specters, your Anime Guardian, everyone gets the 10% damage buff and the attack speed and movement speed buff. Okay, that is all. Everything else is just, support gems. I don't need to go over those. Alright, so now we're gonna summon our zombies. The way we do this, in hideout, in case your zombies die in the map, desecrate to get corpses, and then just spam your zombie key until you have the maximum amount. Desecrate spawns 5 corpses, so 2 desecrates, 10 zombies at this point in the game. If you have higher levels of raised zombie, you can get more zombies. Right now we have 7 from the gem, 1 from this, and 2 from the skill tree. So yeah, that's basically it. If your gem is a lower level or if it has low quality, you will actually have 9 zombies. Right, so try to make sure your gem is the highest level with 20% quality for an extra zombie. Now we're going to go into the map and now we'll see what the build looks like in action. So as I said, map starts, desecrate, bone offering, click your Rumi's concoction so that it just starts looping on itself and then we go in. We convocate everything onto the packs of monsters and everything just dies. Here's a big pack, convocate, things die, we move forward. So you can see it's a pretty smooth playstyle overall. Doesn't really matter what happens. Remember to cast Bone Offering frequently. Alright, so what I do, I just run around and I spam Convocation on every pack. That is why we take cooldown recovery or Convocation, so that it comes up pretty often. Bone Offering and move next. Right, I'm not gonna full clear the map. I'll show you what the boss looks like in a tier 6 map. Remember, I am level 84. Shrines don't affect minions, they only affect you. So shrine buffs on this character aren't really that strong. As you can see, the bosses are dying. Like they spawn, they die. Right, so really nice, really strong. Convocate right on top of the packs, or right on top of the boss in this example, and it just dies, disappears. Right, this is the last one. Where the fuck is the last one? Here he is, gone. I hate this map, there's so many bosses. Is it done yet? Alright, it's done, it's done. Okay, so map's done. Very smooth tier 5 map. Let's move on and now let's do a tier 10 map. So no, we're gonna grab a random tier 10 map. Let's go for Strand, because everyone loves Strand. Who doesn't love Strand? Right, Alk, fine. Mods you wanna not really do, I'll go over that at the end, for mods that you wanna avoid. But generally, like insanely rippy maps, like less aura effect would be pretty bad, because we do run a lot of auras. So less aura effect is pretty bad. I don't like running less aura effect. I don't like running reduced chance to block, even though this does have reduced chance to block. I don't like running it. Makes things too spooky, because block is one of our main defensive layers. What else? We actually can run no regen. Why? Because we're not regenning, we're leeching. Right? Our minions are leeching both life and energy shield to us. Fuck that rare. So we actually can run no regen. We can also run cannot be leeched, because we aren't leeching. Our minions are leeching. Now correct me if I'm wrong, this could be bugged. This almost certainly is bugged. But I still get leech, even though the map says monsters cannot be leeched. So you can run no leech perfectly fine. What else is there? There is the mod that you absolutely cannot run is reduced rate of recovery of life and energy shield. That essentially puts you at 0 energy shield for most of the map. It is not fun at all. Don't run that. Just don't. Alright. Also, by the way, in this map there are just a ton of detonate dead monsters for some reason, and they DD'd one of my Spectres, so my Spectral leader died. Right, that's fine, because that guy, disclaimer, he dies a lot. He is a very squishy Spectre, so he actually dies a ton. So just be ready to raise him multiple times, especially if a map is very rippy, or if it has a bunch of chaos damage on it, your Spectre will die quite often. But besides him, no one else will die. It's just that one guy, the Spectral leader. He dies very often. Also, what is up with all the detonate dead people in this game? But anyway, so you can see that the tier 10 map did clear slower than the tier 5 map, obviously. Packs took a little bit longer to die. They did have more elemental resistances, so there's that to take into account. Right, so now we have the boss. Summon your skeletons, cast Frostbite. They die pretty quickly still, even though our Spectral leader is dead. You can still see the boss died pretty quickly. Where's the other one? Aren't there supposed to be 2? I guess I killed the other one. So that is the tier 10 map, also done and dusted. Now, remember, I have very bad gear right now. My gear does not give me extra levels of Spectre gems. It barely gives any tankiness to my minions either. Right, so what I'm about to do, I'm about to do a tier 16 map. Do not do a tier 16 map with this crappy gear. Just don't. Why? Well, you're about to see it right now. Let's go into a tier 16, let's say Silo. Right? Everyone likes Silo, not that Silo. Well, they're both corrupted, never mind. Let's go into a tier 16 Strand. You know what? Strand. Everyone loves Strand. Obviously, we're gonna Elk again. Fine. And we go in. One thing to take note of in here, extra projectiles sucks, obviously. So always just put that right at the bottom. And so the main issue with tier 16 maps is that most things won't really die fast enough. Right? Like white packs obviously will die, but you can see that we will be stopping more than we want to on like magic packs or rare packs. They will take time. You can obviously do them. Like as you can see, I am clearing the map, right? I'm clearing it, but it will be risky. It will be a little spooky. It won't be this. There's DD people again. I think I have the note on the tree that gives us more challenging mobs, probably. Right, but you see the gist, right? Oh, I dropped something. I dropped a thingy. Anyway, so clearly you can see at the lowest level of investment, like maybe all the gear combined costs like 15C, at most 25C, at most. Right? If you really want to nitpick at everything, it'll cost you like 35C. Right? At the end of the map, I'll even show you the jewels and everything so that if there's any doubters, you can all see there's nothing expensive on my gear at all. Right? Also, if you take a hit, when I take a hit, I just spam life flask immediately. That's my thing. I have it on my mouse key. That helps a lot with spamming it. Also, again, you saw my Spectre leader is dead. That guy is just toilet paper. Like, he just falls over so easily if you don't have the correct minion gem levels on him. So just be ready for that if you take him into high tier maps. So here we are, we're at the boss. Quickly bone offering. Well, offer didn't go off. And summon your zombies. I'm gonna get on top of the pack and just watch. So it does die fairly, like not as fast, obviously, right? But they do die. They eventually will. Right, and dead. So also, ideally, you want to switch over to melee physical damage for bosses in the end. That's separate. And yeah. So that was the low budget. Now we're gonna do one more thing before we switch over to the low budget. I'm actually going to put in a Pinnacle boss. Okay, we're gonna put in a white Eater of Worlds and actually show what it looks like to kill the Eater of Worlds on this setup, because I did do that. I did kill Eater with the MoonDancers, the Quest Eater, not this one, but yeah. So before I do that, real quick, showing you the gems. Very basic gem. Minions deal increased damage. Minions have physical damage. This is like 10C, along with minion life doesn't matter. Strength and dex is nice, but I don't even need it because my ring is giving me more than enough strength and dex. We have this jewel here. The fracture was me trying to craft something, but this is really bad. This is like 5C. Then we have this jewel over here. This has taunt and blind. It's a really crappy jewel. I'm not even sure why I have this on, but yeah, it's there. Then we have this jewel here, minion damage, elemental resistances, also a very cheap jewel. I think that's all the jewels, unless I'm mistaken. Usually at this point you will also have this jewel socket here, but for the purposes of the video I want it to be lower level, so I'm lower level, so I don't have that jewel on me. So now let's go and see if we can kill the Eater of Worlds this way. And remember, I do not have Animate Guardian. Animate Guardian gives us a significant boost in overall damage, so bone offering, go in, summon your skeletons, convocate right on top of him. You can see that he'll go down very slowly, but he will. Right? He will. Like, damage is happening. It's happening. You can also see that he's not hitting you with anything, right? Your minions don't really die. You don't really die. So as long as you can just dodge the bigger stuff, you can kill him fairly easily. Just keep convocating everything on top of him. That is very important. So keep your convocation on top of him. And one big thing to note, I haven't been using Val summon skeletons at all so far, right? I didn't use it in the map, didn't use it in anything. So we're gonna use it now. Right, so there it is. There's Val summon skeletons. They're doing their thing. He's hungering them all down. That's fine. Right, so you see, it's dying. Right, it'll be slow, but it'll happen. If you have a better shield, if you have some better jewels, if you have actually leveled up gems, you kill this guy fairly easily. I'm just gonna let this go on until the end. I'll speed this part up because it's pretty slow. I'm just talking out of my ass at this point because I don't know what else to say. So we're just gonna do this. Oops. Oh. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. I just stopped paying attention completely. Alright, so there it is. We killed the Eater of Worlds. Pretty damn slow, obviously. This setup is not supposed to be able to do that, but you can see they can do it. It's very easy to just let your minions do everything and you just focus on dodging. The boss doesn't hit you at all, and he just focuses on your minions. Nothing died. The Spectral leader didn't die. No zombies died. Obviously skeletons died because they literally just made of bone. That's it. So now I'm gonna switch over to the low budget and then I'll come back. Alright, so this is the low budget POB now. So in this POB, similar things. The only difference is that we have some different gem links. We have our Spectre and our helmet, whatever. That's fine. Anime Guardian is now in an unset and in Hungry loop, so we have all these links on him. And we have Elemental Weakness, same thing. It's the curse on hit from his gloves. Right, we have config for all the different Spectres, the Carnage Chieftain, the Arena Master, the Spectral Leader again. Carnage Chieftain and Arena Master, as you can see, are in the POB, so you can actually see their real damage. However, the Spectral Leader, I just put him as a Goatman Shaman this time because I just felt like it, like why not, right? So I just put him as a Shaman. It doesn't matter much at all. Now, Phantasm config. This is a little bit sussy for some people, so I'm going to go over this. So we have in our helmet, Summon Carrion Golem with Summon Phantasm. But as you can see, if I turn this on or off, nothing happens. That is because POB doesn't actually calculate 10 Summon Phantasms at any point. So we actually have to add the config ourselves. So we add it this way. We add a Summon Phantasm gem linked with the same things that the Carrion Golem was linked with. So in this case, it's Culling Strike. And then we have Summon Skeletons. This is what we're using to simulate the damage of the Summon Phantasm. We put Summon Skeletons here at level 17. However, we put 10 of these, so that there are 10 Summon Phantasms. Then if you go over here to the Phantasm config, you can actually see that there's Summon Phantasm right here. So we use that with Physical Projectile. That's basically it. So that's our Summon Phantasm right there. Done. Sorry about you hearing my birds in the background. Besides that, everything else on the tree is the same. Config, since we are now using Carnage Chieftains, we have to add minions have frenzy charges. So if we take that off, put it back on, the damage changes quite a bit. Everything else is, the enemy is shocked because we are using Summon Skitterbots in this setup if you have the right anoint. If you do not, then turn this off. Right, it stays on because there's Summon Skitterbots in there, but you get the point. Besides that, enemy is cursed, enemy is blinded, meat shield, feeding frenzy, all of that is on. We have our Pantheon, Soul of the Brine King, Soul of Aberrath, and yeah, everything else is the same here. Alright, so here I am. I've switched over to the low budget POB. This involved a couple of skill tree changes, couple of gear swaps. I'm going to go over everything. First, let's start with the gear setup. We switched over from the Bitter Dream Scepter to a minion wand. It's the extremely basic minion wand. It just has level of all spell skill gems. You can have level of all minion skill gems. I just had this laying around. Resistances in there as well for some reason. Minion damage, good, and an open suffix for the trigger craft. That is going to be triggering our Bone Offering. Very nice. For the shield, exact same shield as I had before. Crappy shield. I just don't feel like going out to get a better one. So we're going to go with lower damage than what we're supposed to have. Boots, pretty decent boots. It's a armor base with chaos res, some life, an essence for cold res, and movement speed. Eldritch impulses that give us brittle ground and cooldown recovery. Triad grip is the same, belt is the same. It is a very low effect belt, by the way. This is like 5C. We have a hungry loop now where we have our enemy guardian. This is giving us feeding frenzy, meat shield, elemental army, and has minion life. I have another unset ring here just because. You don't need to have this because there is an open socket in the boots where you're going to be putting this gem. However, I just didn't feel like recoloring the boots. I had an unset ring. I said, sure, why not? So this has the attributes same as the low budget. For the amulet, I'm using the Jinx Juju for aura effect and some extra tankiness. However, the anoint here is supposed to be charisma. It's supposed to be this one here, charisma. However, charisma is an expensive anoint. It's this thing right here, which is 2 golden oils and then opalescent oil. Obviously, that is a bit expensive. It's like 70 chaos per golden oil. So you don't have to use charisma. You can just use, right now, this is not the anoint you want. You don't want entrench. You want something like, I don't know, maybe leadership, a bit cheaper, lower aura effect, something. Right, you can go for Testudo. You can stay with Testudo. This one, block chance, doesn't matter much. But yeah, Jinx Juju, that's the thing that matters. Body armor, we're using a Replica Covenant now. This gives us a major boost to damage because of the level 29 added cold damage for our skeletons and our zombies here. Besides that, we have our Spectre gem in our helmet now instead of the Bitter Dream, linked with Summon Phantasms and Culling Strike. That's basically it. For the auras, since we do not have charisma, we will only be using Tempest Shield, Determination, Hatred, and Precision. If I had charisma anointed onto my amulet as well, then I would be using Summon Skitterbots on top of everything. Right, so this will fully reserve all of our mana. Right, we have literally 5 unreserved mana in this setup. But for the purposes of this video, it's going to be no charisma, no skitterbots. Okay, so real quick, let's go over the specters for this setup. We will no longer be using Moondancers, obviously. We're going to be switching over to one Primal Clutch Claw. Okay, that's one thing I should mention. Since we now have Bone Offering in our trigger craft, even using a raised Spectre gem, any spell will trigger it. So the corpses that I had there just poofed. So no Spectre got raised. So let's desecrate some new corpses. Take this Bone Offering off so that it doesn't proc. And then raise your Spectres. So we want 1 Primal Crush Claw. We want desecrate again, find it, 1 Carnage Chieftain. And we want a Spectral Leader. There he is. Boop. Once you have 4 raised Spectres, then you will have that with, where is my inventory key? Yeah, you will have that with an extra level on your shield. And when you get Ashes, you will get 4 Spectres. Level on the shield, and in Ashes, you will get 4 Spectres. For now, we have 3. It's more than enough. Okay. Besides that, obviously, we have our zombies. Zombie. That's it. We have all of our zombies. We have 2 carrion golems now, because if you go over the tree, the changes are mostly just that we leveled up, right? That is basically it. We have more levels. This is now a level 92 tree, right? So we take this jewel socket here, and we take an extra golem, an effect of our golems here. That's basically it. We don't take anything else. On that note, I should probably go grab any random jewel from my stash of jewels. I have so many jewels. Look at how many jewels I have here. That I'm just like trying to sell for as low as possible just to give people more jewels. Let's go and pick up one of these, I guess. Let's go with this one. This isn't too bad. And let's plop that right in here. Because now we have jewels. I am once again not going to use my Animate Guardian. Even though Losing this Anime Guardian is very bad because we no longer get Feeding Frenzy and we don't get Elemental Army for cold exposure. You don't get either of those. So it's gonna be bad, like in terms of like the actual damage representation, but just know that if you're using your Anime Guardian, you'll have way more damage than I do in this setup. And we also have our 11 skeletons, pretty nice. Right, that's basically everything for the... I think let me just set up my skill bar here because I forgot to do that, that's my bad. Summon your Carrion Golem, off. My Val summon skeletons here, but my Val haste here. You guys can copy my setup if you want. Right, my skill bar setup, this is how I set it up. Zombies here, Carrion Golem here, Spectre here. Never keep your Anime Guardian on your skill bar, never. You never want to accidentally summon him in a map on top of some trash items and replace your good ones, never. So don't keep this guy on your skill bar at all, okay? So these are the minions, and we don't keep our auras on the skill bar because you can now just turn your auras on this way. You right click them and they just turn on or off. Good stuff. And let's just put our blood spray here for no reason at all. Right. So now we're gonna go into a map. Not gonna do white maps and yellow maps. We're gonna jump directly into a tier 16 map, and we will see how this build functions. Let's bring up our other Carrion Golem because we have two of them now. And quick note, the buff from these golems do not stack. You don't get extra buff effect, but these golems are just incredibly strong. They jump in, they slam, they do a lot of damage. I love that, so I just use two of them. If you want, you can free up if you have an unset ring, you can use a stone golem along with the Carrion Golem. That works to a decent extent as well. I don't recommend it. I just like two Carrion Golems, so I use two Carrion Golems. Oh, another thing, flasks. Did add a Taste of Hate, very cheap flask, 14% Taste of Hate, not a 15%. 15% expensive, 14% not expensive, you get the point. Added a Basalt flask, let me just rearrange stuff. Basalt flask for even more armor, for determination, and everything else is the same. Topaz flask, because I just personally like Topaz flask, so I use this one. If you want, you can use something else, it's completely up to you. Right, so that's my flask setup. Alright, hi, sorry for the jump cut. So there is one thing. Without the Anime Guardian in this setup, without him being a meat shield and being defensive and taunting and everything, it does make things difficult. So I'm gonna add my higher level Anime Guardian back in. However, to compensate for the DPS increase that this guy's gonna give at the low budget, I'm gonna take off elemental damage to the tax, so that's 34% less damage in place of the Anime Guardian. So that, and now we're gonna put in another map, and we're gonna see how it functions. We're gonna go Baran. Again, more monster life, maim, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I go in, we'll see what's up. So again, the build functions exactly the same as the MoonDancer version. However, the only difference in this one is that we do not have MoonDancers, we have support Spectres. So the clear is going to be a little bit slower as compared to MoonDancers. That's fine, we don't mind it. So this is a 50% more monster life map, by the way. So keep that in mind. Has way more monster life, but everything is still dying pretty fast. As you can see, our zombies are clearing pretty nicely, even though I removed the gem link. Now, some of this clear speed is coming from the Anime Guardian's Explodey chest, right? So that is why we're clearing a bit stronger and a bit easier than we normally would at this setup. So I'm just gonna rush over to the boss here so that you guys can see the single target damage, because the Anime Guardian won't really be helping much with that, because you can't really explode the boss, now can he? So we're just gonna clear right through, keep communicating everything as you're running, just so you know, make it easier. Oh hey, it's the special shrine. Let's take that, let's see what happens. Keep moving forward. I hate talking while I'm mapping, so it's just I feel like I'm talking out of my ass for most of the time. So ignore that. We're at the boss, yay. Summon your skeletons, cast your frostbites, watch the boss die, walk on top of him to give the boss brittle and everything. And there he dies. Again, remember 50% more monster life. Put a portal down just in case. Good habits. File some skeletons, haste, bone offering. Do that, so walk over him. You can see he dies pretty fast. And this is with melee splash in, right? So even less single target damage. But you saw, annihilated, right? Done and dusted. Now we are going to go do a... Let's go Maven. Let's just do Maven. Let's see what happens. Let's do Maven, because I think that's the only boss that I have. Boss fragment that I have. Real quick, just to test the Pinnacle boss damage of the setup. We will switch over our melee splash to a level 2 melee fizz, because I mean, hey, why not? We're also going to use, we're going to not use Determination, we're going to use Skitterbot, because we don't need fizz mitigation versus Pinnacle bosses. Usually we're just going to be dodging things, ideally. Right, so we're going to be doing it that way. So yeah, and again, let's see what happens. Well, you should also just like replace one of your gem sockets with Flame Dash. So it's easier to do Maven. I'm using normal dash, which is not the best idea. You really want Flame Dash for Maven, but fine, whatever. As you can see, we don't need Determination. We just need Tempest Shield, because Maven is mostly spell damage. Most bosses are just spell damage. They don't really hit you, especially with the minion build. They're gonna be auto attacking your minions, not you. That's first life of Maven down. I hate talking while doing bosses if it's not obvious. The cringe is high at the moment. Just ignore me. Pretend I'm not even here. Like I'm just a fly on the wall. I'm just existing in the bottom right corner of your screen at the moment. Like that's all. That's done. Memory game. Right, top, left. Remember to just desecrate some corpses into the boss arena, so that as you're using spells, your bone offering keeps triggering. Because if you forget to trigger your bone offering, you'll just die. Like, bone offering is our main defensive layer. The spell block and the attack block that we get from it is massive, and we really, really need it. Trust me. So just have some corpses desecrated onto your board at all times, so that you don't forget. That's the second phase down. Now we go in here again. Ow! Something hit me. Also, real quick note, don't worry about your minions dying to like the big Maven explosion or anything. That's not really gonna happen, because if you didn't know, most abilities in this game, boss abilities and such, have a hidden modifier in them that makes them do less damage to minions. Also, I'm getting absolutely destroyed by the map bosses. I hate the Wild Bristol Matron map boss. Such big slams. Yeah, now this is the third Maven. So let's just get this done. He's doing her thing. Right, top, left, top, left, top. Scurry. Right, top, left, top, left, top.
Do what I say.
I'm not gonna do what you say. You do what I say.
Stand still.
See there, my bone offering was down for a second, and I actually got hit by a lot of stuff. So don't be me. Don't have your bone offering down.
Stop resisting.
Alright, we are now in the last phase. Let's get this over and done with.
Punishment inescapable.
Obviously, I'm not gonna go over boss mechanics. This isn't a boss guide of how to defeat Maven. But it's the stupid Bleed, boss. Really? You're gonna make me bleed? No way. Alright, there we go. Alright, this is the hard part of Maven, right? To do without flame dash. But let's see how it goes. It shouldn't be too bad, right? Right, top, right, top, right, top. Hey, Quintonian. If anyone knows that reference, this is a Quintonian. Okay, so now we're just gonna. Oh, I stepped in a beam. I stepped into a beam, and I stepped into the beam again. Okay, so that's what happens when you're just talking while playing. Don't be me. Don't step into Maven beams like back and forth like that. Just just don't. It's dumb. Don't do that. Let's just go back in. Pretend that never happens. None of that ever happens. It's fine. It's fine. We're good. Everything's fine. Now this is gonna take longer because my summon skeletons, summon skeletons are down. So she's probably gonna go back into another memory game right now. Maybe. Die please. Die please. There we go. Got culled right in the end. Something good.
The living toy must enjoy it.
I mean, it's just that easy. Like
And I should do this
it's that easy. But yeah, so that was Maven, you saw, so we did that again, let me show, with on a 5-link, the level 2 melee physical damage support. Yes, a good animate guardian, but you get the point, like, I took the gem off so that I could use the good guardian. We have a crap shield, we don't have all of our anoints, no charisma. We have crap jewels, we have a 56% belt, so overall, the budget for this setup right now is probably the most expensive thing is probably going to be the 6-link replica covenant, because you'll need about 80 C for the beastcraft, 20 C for the base, the armor, and what else? Total of 50 C for all the jewels, really basic jewels. They're the same ones that I used in the low budget. Showcasing shield is literally just 1 alchemy orb. Amulet is like 2C. Boots are like maybe. They're cheap. They look expensive maybe to some of you, but they're very cheap. They're like 10C. Gloves also nothing. Wand also just like 5C at most. Helmet, you could say it's like, I don't know. It has chaos res, so I guess like 30C maybe. Alright, so back again. So this is the true budget for the Zoo Defiler setup. Right in here, you also have similar configs for everything, the usual. And however, we have one extra change here. Right, instead of this Goatman Shaman or whatever shaman, we have Stygian Revenants as our wretched defilers. Since POB doesn't have them, we have to use a placeholder here, so we use Stygian Revenants. This is nowhere near the damage that wretched defilers actually do. We're just putting these here as a placeholder. So the DPS for this build is actually much higher than this, so keep that in mind. Besides that, we also have the config. In the config, same thing, we're using a Carnage Chieftain, so friendly charges. Everything else stays the same here. We have effective shock. Even though we're not using skitterbots, our wretched defilers are actually shocking the enemy, right? So it's not a very strong shock, but it's a shock, right? So this time we have different anime guardian gear. So we have Legacy of Fury boots. These give nearby enemies scorched with increased effect. Dying breath. This. We have a Shaper Redeemer helmet on our anime guardian, right? So this helmet gives you nearby enemies have minus 20% to cold res, and nearby enemies take 9% increased elemental damage. Now, these are elevated mods. If you do not have the elevated helmet, which is more expensive to craft or buy, then you can change these numbers to minus 9 and 6%. If I just do that right now, you will see that this changes from minus 9 and 6. It doesn't change much at all. It's like what? 800k-ish of a difference, a million maybe. It's like 1.5 mil difference, but you get the point. You can make that upgrade, or you can choose to not have elevated mods. It's completely up to whatever budget you're at. And the body armor is applying additional curse. If you just go over here real quick and look at the Animate Guardian gear, you can see Dying Breath, same weapon throughout. We have Legacy of Fury boots, we have Grave Iron gloves. This is giving elemental weakness on hit. However, the elemental weakness on hit on these specific gloves is expensive, right? We need these gloves so that we can have nearby enemies killed by anyone count as being killed by you. In this case, you is the Animate Guardian. This is how Legacy of Fury works, and this is how the armor works, which is enemies you kill have a chance to explode. So this is where we get our explode chest and an explode boots, and then the helmet is the Shaper Redeemer helmet, as I said. That's it for the Animate Guardian gear. I think that's pretty much everything. Back to this, the tree, brutal restraint, cluster jewel. Also, ignore this. That's an oopsie, right? I was testing something on this side of the tree. This cluster jewel setup is supposed to be on this side here. I'm just gonna put that back and make it so that this whole thing never happened. Okay, so this is where we want our cluster setup. Okay, just ignore that little loops. Yeah, this is a level 93 tree. As you level up more, you will get a larger cluster. You will get this point and this point, and you will maybe take some of these points. If you want more life, you can go for this life node. You can go for these life nodes. You can go for this life node. You can do whatever the hell you want to do after this point, or you can switch to a new build. It's completely up to you. All right, so I have now switched over to the final version of the build, which is the Zoo Defiler setup / the true Warmancer setup. So what exactly is this setup? Let me go over the changes to the items and to the skill tree. Then we'll hop into a map and see how it functions. So first of all, we switched our body armor to the brass dome to be way tankier. You're immune to crits now, also amazing. More elemental resistances, max elemental resistances, amazing. Changed our helmet to basically, it's still the same in terms of damage. It's just giving us way more resistances. Now this helmet is a graveyard craft this league. The recipe to craft this is in the spreadsheet in the description. Everything, the crafting of all the gear will be in the spreadsheet, as well as in a separate video that I will upload alongside all of this. So go take a look at that if you need help with your crafting. So we have Ashes of the Stars with Charisma Anoint. You need a minimum of 20% quality on this. And that is the minimum anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? And you need 20% quality because of your Summon Skeleton and your Raise Zombie gems. Now, why is that so? If you look at the gem, it says 0 to 1 maximum Raise Skeletons effect from quality. This means that at 20% quality, you get 1 extra zombie. Same thing for skeletons. If you look at the bottom text, +1 to maximum summon skeletons. For both Val summon skeletons and the normal one, we care about the normal one more, obviously. So that is at 20% quality. So you do the math. 20% means 1 extra skeleton. So 40% must mean 2 extra skeletons, right? So I have a 27% quality ashes, because the more quality you have, the better it is, right? Because it buffs the quality of your other support gems, like let's say Carrion Golem, right? It buffs the quality up to 37% increased buff effect as compared to 10% at 10% quality, because I don't have that at full quality. Let's take Bone Offering, for example. Where is it? Right here. 10% increased effective offering goes all the way up to 23%, so that gives us more block, more spell block. Amazing, right? So that's why we have a higher quality ashes. If you can't afford one, go for 20%, it's completely fine. Then we have our shield, amazing shield right here, incredible. Also a graveyard craft, don't worry, very easy to craft. Minion wand, also very easy to craft, don't worry about it. Amazing, lots of damage, lots of everything. Still Triad Grip, we will never switch off of this. Another Doctrine Throne, this time this is a way higher effect, obviously, because this is the proper version of the build. boots, energy shield boots, so that we can cast our haste effectively. Flasks are all the same. Gem links, mostly the same. We just have awaken minion damage, an awaken melee splash, or awaken melee fizz. You swap these out for clearing versus single target, right? And we have our hungry loop. This is where we will have our Spectre setup, right? For now, I have it in the helmet for a reason that I will share in a sec, right? Same anime guardian, better gear, obviously. If you have watched the entire video, you will see that I've been using the same anime guardian gear in the low budget because I can't really change the gear. So I swapped some gem links out to make it even. Now all the gem links are back in. We are at maximum power. Skill tree changes. We use a unending hunger for the Defiler setup. Right, this in your tree, this will go over here, by the way, down here. I just broke this by tattooing things. So I have to place mine up here. I'm not even sure if this works properly up here, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to put it up here. Who cares? You will have a large cluster in this setup. I'm using an 11 passive large cluster. You will use an 8 passive one at lower levels and switch to an 11 passive one when you are higher levels. This one also costs more. I crafted this myself. Again, all the crafting will be in the crafting video. Right, in order to compensate for having a stronger cluster, I took off these 4 points that I have in the POB. Right, for our medium cluster, same thing. We have a blessed rebirth. We really need this for our skeletons. Otherwise, they instantly die in all maps that we will ever do. So we need this small cluster with spiteful presence because we need to have hatred mana reservation efficiency in order to fit it in. Also on the small passives, as I mentioned before in the guide, that we need any useful attributes. I really needed energy shield. I really needed chaos res. And I really needed strength. So I managed to find a really good small cluster here. Amazing. Right, jewels, fairly simple. They still have resistances on them. That jewel has resistances. This jewel has resistances on life and ES. This jewel has attributes and damage. And I think that's the jewel. So one thing to note, we will be using a timeless jewel in this setup. I'll explain why. So we use a brutal restraint timeless jewel. What this does is this changes all your small passives to give you dex as well as whatever else they were already giving. Right, so this gives us a bunch of extra dex that we really need, right? And this gives us some extra boosts to the passives that we are already taking. Right, so this gives us 20% increased minion damage here. 20% increased minion damage here, some life here, movement speed here, and aura effect here. Now this cost me 2 divines. You can get a cheaper one, right? Just try to find one that has minion damage and aura effect. Aura effects gives you the most damage. So if you can get one that has all aura effects, it's amazing. If you can't find one of that kind, or if it's too expensive, get one like this. It's up to you. If you don't know how to look for timeless jewels, I'll quickly go over that in the crafting guide as well. So take a look at it. Take a look at it over there. Besides that, the rest of the tree is exactly the same. Still Eldritch Battery, still Instant Leech, same stuff. For the Spectres that have been making noise this entire time, let's quickly just desummon them. And now I'll quickly show how to summon Spectres with Spell Echo in your thing. So if you look, right now, if I try to raise, if I go over to the Spectre gem, it says spell repeats an additional time. What does that mean? Well, if I try to cast this, like I have all my Spectre corpses here, these are all 4 of the ones that I want, right? These are 2 Defilers, 1 Carnage Chieftain, and 1 Spectral Leader. So if I pressed it once, well, I forgot Bone Offering, oops, but you saw my character play the animation for raising the Spectre twice. So, if I was to desecrate and have a Defiler here and I have a Bone Stalker that we don't want, right? If I was to raise my Spectre now, it would raise this Defiler and another random corpse right next to it. How do we avoid this? Well, you go to that other corpse and you turn it into a zombie. Take bone offering off, and then you turn it into a zombie. Right? You remove this if you don't want that. There's our spectral leader. There's 2 spectral leaders and a bone stalker, so I'm going to remove the bone stalker. And there's 2 leaders, so I'm going to remove 1 leader. Now there's only 1 spectral leader. If you check, there is nothing else. There's just this goop. That is the spectral leader. So if I summon the Spectre now, it will only summon it and nothing else. So same thing. I want 1 more Defiler and I want a Carnage Chieftain, right? So there's nothing I want in that pile. Nothing I want in that pile. And there we go. So we remove the Bone Stalker, zombie. We remove this Bone Stalker, zombie. This Bone Stalker, zombie. Right, so now we have a Defiler and a Carnage Chieftain. So we just go boop. There we have it. If you do not want to do it this way, there is another way you can do it. Right, so if you go into an area that has no corpses, right, no corpses. Right, actually no, this is how you do it. You you switch your Spectre gem into any other socket. You can like replace a socket for a second, right, and then summon your Spectres like that. So I'm going to summon Spectre leader, Defiler. I need two Defilers, and I need my Carnage Chieftain. There. So now that I have my 4 minions, now I go to an area that has no corpses. So let's go over here, complicate everything. Now we take this off. Now you see all my Spectres are now corpses. These are only the Spectres that I want. So I can just, switch back to my hungry loop and then just summon all of them, and that's it. Simple. Just remember to take off your bone offerings that you don't eat your corpses. Okay? So that's that. Now we summon back our zombies real quick. Our full army of 12 zombies. Our 1 carrion golem. We already have our enemy guardian. For our aura setup, we use all the auras now, baby. We use determination, precision, hatred, petrified blood, tempest shield. Right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 auras in our setup. Really, really nice. And we have a little blood spray. MTX, don't worry about that. So for the skill bar, we have Frostbites on spacebar. Summon skeletons on right click. We have haste on Q, desecrate on W, communication on E, dash on R, Val summon skeletons on T, control T for Val haste. This is just, you don't need that. Zombies, golems, specters on your this. Don't accidentally summon a random spectre in the map, please. You will have to go back to global in order to get him back. If you summon an extra spectre that isn't in your current pool, because right now my pool is full. Your spectre pool, you know what, let's just make this small section in the video for how to make your spectre bank. Okay, so your spectre bank is basically equal to your maximum spectre limit. So since my spectre limit right now is 4 specters, okay, that means that I can save 4 different specters in my pool. So right now I have 1 Defiler in my pool, I have 1 Carnage Chieftain, 1 Spectral Leader, and 1 Primal Crush Claw that you can see right there. Right, so and on top of that, we also just generically by default have these dumb desecrated bone stalkers in your normal desecrate, just so the ability itself works. Right, for people who don't use specters, they need some sort of corpse to spawn from desecrate. So that's that. If I was to summon this bone stalker right now, then the last spectre that I summoned would be deleted from my desecrate pool. Let's say, for example, that is the Primal Crush Claw, because I don't have him right now. Right, so he is probably going to be the last in my pool. So if I was to summon the Bone Stalker, my Crush Claw would be gone, and I would have to go back to Global 666 to get him back and reset my Spectre pool that way. That's why you really don't want to mess up your Spectre pool. How do you get these new Spectres, by the way, into your pool? Well, again, you go to Global 666, right here, like this. Global 6666. And it'll take you to Global. Right now, I'm already in that Global chat, so let's ignore that. You will go to that chat, and you will just type into the chat that you want Wretched Defilers or Spectral Leaders or whatever. And whoever has it, if they're kind enough, they invite you, you go to their hideout, and as long as you're in the same instance as them, you desecrate, and you'll see their corpses as well as your own in the desecrate pool, and you'll get it that way. If you are SSF, or if you don't want to bother with global, you can go find these specters in the areas that they spawn in. For example, Carnage Chieftains spawn in Ashen Fields in Act 7 or Act 8. You go there, you don't have to kill one, you just go into the area and start desecrating, and the desecrate pool will have all the monsters that spawn in that specific area. So that's how that works. For the Defilers, that's tier 17. So are Spectral Leaders. So I really recommend going to global to get these and not just loading up tier 17s trying to find them. So that's all for the Spectres. Now let's go hop in to a map and let's see how the build functions. I'm gonna put in I don't know, what should I put in? Do I have a Cortex? I do not have a Cortex map. Let's just put in a tier 17 map. How about that? Let's put in a tier 17. And let's roll this up to be a bit different. Let's see what this is. Chaos. I don't like chaos. Let's see what this is. You know, this is doable. Right, this is doable. There's just some extra phases, extra fire, some barrels, less curse effect. Monsters are going to be pretty tanky because of that extra life. That's fine, who cares? So we put that up. We turn off Eldritch Influence because hell no. And we don't really care about this. Let's just move these projectiles onto something that doesn't fire projectiles. Imagine if I put these projectiles on wretched defilers right here. Insane. Don't want to do that. Real quick note, these bloody barrows are absolutely insane. I don't even want to deal with those. They are so annoyingly annoying that I just don't want to deal with them. I do not want to deal with them. I'm going to replace them with, I don't know, let's just replace them with this guy. I'd rather fight him in tier 17 than I'll fighting these stupid blood, whatever the hell they were called. Because they fire off this blood degen thing. And yeah, I just don't want to deal with that. Also, everything here is just annoying as hell with projectiles. So I'm just going to put this here and hope for the best. Alright, so now we're going to go in. And now you guys will see how the build is for clearing. And for bossing, I'm going to switch the Spectres over to the Warmancer setup so that you can see how fast the boss dies with this setup. So we go in, we use haste, and we walk in. It's a tier 17 map, so we're not going to go too nutty with just running in. Just balls out, guns blazing, not going to do that. We're going to go slower. Because yeah, this is still I just turned on a breach. I don't want to mess with the breach. I'm going to ignore that. There's the Demon of the Drowned. I'm still like playing pretty aggressive for a tier 17 map at this level of investment, right? With monsters having 70% life as ES, they're pretty tanky. Would you look at that? There's a nice little scare. But yeah. Oh, that's Helm. I was wondering why this thing isn't dying. It's the guy. Sorry about that. Got my alarm started ringing in the background. So kill the Helm guy. I got some tattoos. So let's move forward. So as you can see, these are revenants. You really don't wanna mess with those. They will DD you to oblivion. I'm probably gonna get DD'd anyway here somehow in some way because these guys are just annoying as hell to deal with. I'm just trying to clear them as fast as I can so that I don't have to deal with them. I'm not gonna loot either. What is this? Yeah, that's a tattoo. We're just gonna move forwards, trying to find the boss. You can see we are clearing tier 17. Look at the map boss, 90% max life, reduced effective curses, and all that good stuff. And we are clearing pretty easily with the defilers here. Nothing crazy. We are a level 93 character here because I'm level 99 with 7 points to spend. So that's level 92 actually. That's my bad at math. Anyway, so really smooth clearings, good defenses. Everything is nice. Everything is good. We love it here. We love it. It's amazing. So we just keep going, and I'm gonna get to the boss. And there's the boss. Never mind. So once we get here, I'm gonna pull out. I'm gonna switch to the Defiler setup, and then I'm gonna come back in, and then we'll see that is a Demon of the Drowned big ball. Don't want to get hit by that. You can see very smooth, clear, very smooth everything. Not a single zombie died, not a single Spectre died, nothing died. Now we portal out. I'm going to switch to the single target setup. I will show myself doing it. So if you want to switch over to the single target setup, this is what you do. You take your single target thing, ring, do that, switch your gem to that, and we want a Spectral Leader. Remember to take Bone Offering off. Been playing this build the entire league and I still forget. Carnage Chieftain. We want a... Where is it? I saw him. Didn't. We want one Crush Claw. We want... Where is he? Where's the Spectral Leader guy? Also, since I don't want to keep on going back to global, I use 2 Crush Claws in my single targets, instead of using 1 Crush Claw and 1 Arena Master in the end. So that it's just easier to swap back and forth. So this way I still have 4 Spectres in my bank and I don't have to keep swapping around. So that's my Spectres. We have 2 Crush Claws, a Carnage Chieftain, and a Spectral Leader. That's the only swap I have to do, nothing else. Also Awaken Splash, switches to Awaken Melee Fizz. That's all. Alright, so I'm back. Sorry about the bit of a jump cut there. We will now be testing out the build live. So I'll be running a Fortress map, tier 17. Nothing too big. Let's roll this a bit, make this less insane. You should always roll your tier 17 maps, so they're not too crazy. What is that? I don't even want to read all of that. Frenzy Charge, reduced action speed, marked for death, are assaulted by Sawblades, and are in the Union of Souls. This seems fine. Probably. Might regret it. I've never done Union of Souls before, so let's see what happens. Let's see what we have here. Nothing too crazy. Let's just put the attack speed down a bit. Okay, let's go. Let's see what happens. I haven't dabbled into tier 17 maps too much because I hate them. I absolutely hate them. My Animate Guardian has almost died many times in these tier 17 maps, so it's pretty spooky. So I just stopped doing them for a good bit. So Union of Souls, I'm assuming, is they all have Soul Eater on them, like every single mob, or what is it? What is Union of Souls? Well, I'll find out eventually, right? Why am I not getting flash charges? Oh yeah, things are tanky. Yeah, that's the Union of Souls right there, I think. Things are pretty tanky. They should die much faster than they are. But you can see how I'm playing. You can see I'm playing a tier 17 map. Just running in, Unga Bunga, just not really caring much, just letting my Spectres do everything. Even though things are extremely tanky, they should not be this tanky generally, right? It's the Union of Souls doing its thing. Everything is so massive, they're so big. They're so big, they're all Soul Eater mobs. Crazy. Okay, so anyway, while I grind myself through this map, oh my... let's chill here for a bit. Let's take a breather. Let's talk about life. You know, life is it's pretty intense sometimes. You have all these Soul Eater mobs running around. Does it go down? Do the souls go down eventually, or is it just permanently they have all these souls in there? I think they just permanently have souls in there. Well, I'm just gonna try to run through, try to get to the boss. I'm gonna die. I can't see! I can't see! I can't see anything. Get me out. Get me out. There's so much on screen. Okay, here's the boss. We made it. We're here. Portal out real quick. We're portaling out. We're portaling out. So that I showed the clearing speed, right? The Defiler setup. Pretty strong when things aren't in a Union of Souls. It's pretty strong. So now we're going to switch over to our single target setup. You don't need to do this for every map, obviously. You just need to do this for tier 17 gigabosses like these guys, because I absolutely fuck these guys. I hate them. Right, so you can see it melts to a certain degree, right? Ow! Oh, the saw. I forgot about the Sawblades. That's on me. I forgot about them. It's not the build being bad. That's me being bad. Tier 17 maps being very annoying to deal with. So what you saw there was me dying to this. Where is it? The blood-stained Sawblades. Completely forgot about those. So yeah, we don't, obviously, like every other build, we don't have an insane amount of physical damage reduction. So I actually do have to pay attention to where those Sawblades come from, because they will just insta-kill me if I get hit by them. And yeah, this is just horrible, right? I apologize for the horrible mapping showcase here, because the Sawblades are just eating me alive. And there's literally nothing I can do about them. They're just horrible. I just have to kill the boss before I run out of portals. You can see though, that the boss is like half HP. Alright, the boss is half HP, so the minions are doing their thing. They're just, the Sawblades are a bit annoying. Well, let's try to burst the boss down now while we can. There we go. And he's dead. Right, easy. Sawblades! What? Alright, so, okay, fine. We did get something. But yeah, Sawblades, pain in the ass. One quick note, I actually want to test something while the minions are doing anything in the background. I actually left one socket open for a reason. I wanted to show, if you were to put Frostbite up there, and put Automation down here, right, so this way we actually get to automate our convocation. So now, this becomes a 1 button, 0 button build actually. Because look, I don't have my hand on my keyboard. I'm just walking. Everything's convocating around me. I'm gonna have to cast haste with my other hand if I want to. I don't even need. You don't really need to for mapping. Like these are pretty easy things to clear. You're just walking around. Everything is convocating around us. No buttons to press. You can press skeleton occasionally to like get your minions deal increased damage. If you've used a minion skill recently, convocation doesn't count anymore because it's being a trigger, you are not using it. So yeah, this now becomes a like just a walking simulator, right? Your minions are doing everything, you're just walking around, everything is fine. Now to show that we don't need to constantly switch our gem setups for bosses and everything, I'll show here that this boss right here will just die. Like we don't have, like the defilers destroy him, like he just gets deleted. It's a pretty decent ring. Damn, never mind. Could have been a decent ring. But yeah, that's the Defiler setup and the single target setup shown on the tier 17 boss. I've gone over pretty much everything that I had to go over at this point, I think. If there is anything else left, I'm gonna turn off the automatic convocation, that is annoying. If there's anything left, please feel free to ask in the comments. Please go over to the crafting guide, where I'll be going over all the gear crafts for the wand, the helmet, the shield, that's it. I mean, there's 3 crafts, and cluster jewels, of course. Cluster jewels, can't forget those. So I'll be going over all of that setup. So I'll see you guys in that one if you guys need help there. And remember, you are not as useless as you might think. You can always be used as a bad example.